All right, today we're talking about the much anticipated arrays. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what data structure is. We're going to talk about the difference between what an array is and a variable, simple variable. We're going to declare an array just like we declare things in our methods, right? We're going to declare an array. It's not an int, it's not a string, it's its own thing. It's like David S. Pumpkins beat at Beat Boys. All right, I don't know if anyone knows what that is. Initialize an array. We're going to do that. We're going to access the elements in an array. We're going to figure out how to change values in an array. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to loop through the elements of an array. We're going to iterate through them in a loop. All right, before we start talking about arrays, we're just going to talk about data structures in general. So right now, in all of our programs, we've just been defining a bunch of variables. You need 2 variables, you need 5 variables, you have to have 10 variables, and it gets to be a little bit messy and a lot to keep track of. So Java's and programming languages in general, Java's one of them, have these great ways to group like data together in data structures, hash maps and mapping, okay, dictionaries in JavaScript, lists, and arrays. So these are a way to take data that's all very similar, and rather than having to find a variable for every data element, you can just define one variable and it can hold a lot of like similar data. And that's nice because it allows us to easily keep track of all of our stuff. It allows us to organize things a little bit better. It keeps our programs from getting really cluttered. Arrays are going to be our first step in talking about data structures. Okay. All right. Here's an example of a data structure. A book. Book has, we could map all of the data about a book into a structure. And that book then would just be one variable, and then it could have an author, a title, publisher, whether it's hardcover or softcover. We could, most of this information is not numeric. We can model as a string, right? Author could be a string, title could be a string, publisher, a string. We could talk about anything, right? We could talk about, I'd talk about a library. So a library, you could represent all of the books in the library as just a list of strings, right? You could say that you want to talk about a menu at a restaurant because I love food. A menu at a restaurant, you could model that as just a list of strings, right? Okay. I have lost control. Arrays. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to talk about arrays and how they are different from simple variables, all right? An array is a data structure. It can hold a fixed number of values of the same data type. Those are all the rules, right? Fixed number, same data type. So you got an array. You're going to start out and you're going to say this array has 20 elements. When you try to add the 21st element, Java's going to give you an all right? Okay. Once you specify the length of an array, it cannot be changed. That's not how arrays work. Okay. When you create an array, when you declare an array, you say what kind of data it's going to hold. Is it going to hold ints? Is it going to hold strings? Is it going to hold students? Once you specify the length of the array, bullet point 2, can't change it. The location of each element is indicated by a numerical index. So you can get to anything in the array just by using its index. And the index is numerical. It's one of these, what is it? It's an integer, 0 or greater. And the elements in the array are ordered, okay? All that means is this. Here's an array. There are 5 elements in this array. Because we are computer science people, we start with 0. There's a reason for that. 5-element array has elements 0 through 4. This is a location in memory, okay? Here's the very beginning of the memory where the array is stored, and this is why you can't change the size of an array after you've declared it. You tell Java, set aside this much memory for my array. And so Java's like, oh, he wanted an int. Okay, I'll put an int here. Oh, he wanted a string. Oh, I'll put a string here. Oh, he wanted a 5-element int array. Okay, I'm going to take up this much memory. Oh, he wants another string. I'm going to put it right here. And so that's why you can't say, oh, I want to make this a 7-element array, because the Java has already used this memory here. And the beauty of an array is it's efficient because the memory is all consecutive. It can move through it very, very quickly because it knows exactly where each element is. It doesn't have to search around and follow. Okay. And the reason it starts at 0 is back in the day when they were doing C and before that, rather than having an array, you just had a memory location. And so if you wanted to go further into the array, you say, give me the memory location plus the size of the data to get to the next memory location. So if you want the 0th, you say the memory location plus 0. But don't worry about that. These are just, it starts at 0. You have to remember that. Okay. This syntax is incorrect. But these parentheses should be curly brackets. Our favorite symbol, curly brackets. But this is one way you can declare and initialize an array. Okay? So we give it the type. We do square brackets. That's to let you know it's an array. Square brackets, and then a name. So if we're doing, this is just a declaration. This is the type. It's an array of strings. We give it a name, assignment operator equals, and then you can just write in line declare all of the elements in the array. So just like an int or a string, you have to declare an array, right? You can't just start out with an array without declaring it. You have to give it the type of the array, and you have to somehow tell Java what the size of it is. We'll either do that by making a declaration, or we'll explicitly say the array size. Okay. So here's an array declaration. Not initialized yet. We know the type of it. We know that it's a string array. We don't know a lot about it. We just know that it's an array of strings. That's a declaration. All right, initialization. All right, I'm going to initialize an array. Just watch me do it, and then when I'm done, you guys are all going to initialize your own arrays, all right? Okay. Uh-oh. Loading project. Loading project. Look at this array stuff. Let me start over. New project. Let's do a Maven project this time. Okay. com.trilogy. Effective date, ID, array. Oh, how did that happen? Okay, finish. This window. So close. Main Java.
When we're creating a new Java class, you want us to always do com.trilogy.app now, right?
com.trilogy.app. You do not have to do .app, but you could.
Because I noticed within the homework yesterday, one of the requirements was that it had to be an app.
Okay.
And that if it wasn't, the code wouldn't run.
Okay. So if the homework has that requirement, then you should do that. I'm not going to necessarily do that here. We should always start with com.trilogy for our package. for a main package, and then any sub packages like that based on the homework requirements. But let's do com.trilogy.data structures.
So you couldn't name
Data,
a
yeah.
class F, right?
You
couldn't name a class
you could name a class
F.
app.
Could,
Yes, you could.
like, what is the dot app?
Here? Oh,
Oh, so as long as you like have another dot. Okay.
What if I forgot to type that, like the package name?
if you forget to type it,
How should I just go? to-
you can refactor. Yep. Data.structures.array practice. Okay. Okay, so if we want to declare an array, we're going to declare an array of ints. And here's the syntax for that. My int array. Okay. Now I've declared the array. And on top of that, I'm going to initialize the array. And here's how you initialize it. Use that new word. All right, here we are. We now have declared and initialized an int array. We declared it as an array type, int array. We named it my int array. We used this special word new. And here, once again, you give the type and then the size. This array will be no more ever than four. It's got 4 elements exactly forever. Okay?
But we can do something like dot length, right?
Can we
We'll get
make
to
it
that.
empty?
That's it.
Can we make it empty? Because sometimes we don't know how many values we're gonna push to the array. So
You cannot. You
it
have
has
to give it a size.
Oh,
Now, there are other ways to solve that problem in Java, and we're not learning those yet. So dynamically sized data structures we'll get to, but for now, an array, once you declare the size, that's the size of the array. All right. Now we're going to set the values in the array. We don't want to do that. Oh, I see. What's the problem? What did I do? What did I forget?
probably, study.
Thank you.
Oh, do you need, so you need a name to set up an array?
If we're going to want to execute things, it has to run within a method.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, it just has to be. So it's just like,
Well, the only way we're going to get this thing to run is by having a main method.
right.
I could put this in another method, but if it's not within a method,
Right.
it won't let me do it. It'll give us a syntax there. Okay, so now we're going to initialize all the elements in the array. All right, what's the first element in the array?
0.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we might as well get in the practice of calling that the 0th element in the array. Okay, so it's the 0th, right? Computer science-y. All right, gonna make that 10. All right, Nurgle, if I want to initialize the next element in this array, what should I type? It's gonna look a lot like the line right above it. Okay, okay, so now both the 0th and the first elements are 10. I'm going to fly through. Fly through. So now I will initialize the other 2 elements of the array. Okay. So now I've initialized every element in the array. The contents of the array, if we go back to that slide, I'm not going to go back to it, but if we think about what that slide looked like, we've got this memory, right, where the array lives. It's got 4 elements, 10, 10, 10, 20. That's what our array looks like. I can't set the 4th element in this array because
It's not gonna take it.
It's too much space.
Right, just-
Do it.
Can I
It's-
do
It gives
that?
you runtime.
It'll give you a runtime error. That's right. All right. Another way to initialize an array, you can do all of that fancy dancy stuff all in one line. All right, so there we went through and initialized each element. We can also do it like this. Int my int array equals 10, 10, 10, 20, just like that.
Okay.
That does the same thing
Same with that.
that this does. Notice that we did not have to use the new keyword. We didn't have to declare the size of the array. We
Right.
just declared an array of size 4 by explicitly giving it all the elements in the array.